Marland. I am the host of Scaling Therapy Practice, the show where we encourage you to take small steps towards sustainable growth. I have a panel of guests here. We're going to do a new season of the Scaling Therapy Practice where we're going to do 12 episodes on marketing. First up is Lisa Mustard. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
Tell us your show and a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Well, my name is Lisa Mustard. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in South Carolina, and I have a podcast called The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard, and some of my episodes qualify for continuing education. You can learn all about that over on my site, lisamustard.com, and I'm really excited to be here. And one thing about me that you may not know is I am a personal development junkie. I cannot get enough books, quotes, videos, you name it. I will watch it. I'm a junkie. I admit it.
Cool. Well, thank you. Then next up is Steve Bisson.
Yes, Steve Bisson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Massachusetts, born and raised in Montreal. My first language is actually French. And one of the things that you should know about me is if you go listen to any of the podcasts, or what's going to happen probably at least twice in every single episode we do, is I can't pronounce THs because there's no such sound in French. So sometimes you'll catch me saying something like tree when I mean three, because I have to intentionally think about it. So just a little tidbit. So you can laugh. I have a sense of humor about it, but you're only allowed to laugh twice. After that, I get frustrated.
All right. Well, thank you. And last up, but not least, of course, is Dawn Gabriel.
Hi, I'm Dawn Gabriel in Castle Rock, Colorado. I am the host of Soul Care for Therapists podcast. I also am a group practice owner and for the last 8 years. And a fun fact about me, well, it's fall weather now, and I am excited because I love drinking all sorts of chai. I don't drink coffee. I'm a chai connoisseur.
All right. Well, thank you. And we'll learn more about the co-hosts here as we go along in our next 12 episodes. So the structure of the show is going to be, we are going to have a main topic, and then we're going to talk about 12 different aspects, one per show, of the topic. This season, we're going to talk about marketing for the Scaling Therapy Practice. And this show is all about SEO, search engine optimization. And I'm going to cut to a clip here with Daniel Fava from Private Practice Elevation. He's going to share a tool with us, and we'll get into that clip. All right. Well, now we're going to do our tooltip tech segment of the week. And we have a special guest with us this week, Daniel Fava. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, James. How's it going? And panel. Hey, everybody.
Hi there.
And you're the host of Private Practice Elevation, and you also have the business Private Practice Elevation. And I recently attended a webinar of yours, which was all about SEO, and you graciously came on the show, and you're going to share with us a tool that we can use right now for our own SEO, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
All right, take it away.
Sure. Yeah. So the tool I want to share about is a tool called Ubersuggest. Some of you may have heard of it. This is a tool that's created by Neil Patel. If you've ever been to Neil Patel's website, he's just got oodles and oodles of tutorials on marketing, online marketing, getting traffic to your website. And so I started using Ubersuggest a couple of years ago because I was actually struggling myself with some of our clients because I really wanted to provide a dashboard and just something that our clients could use and our students, because we teach our SEO process to students with an online course and an SEO mastermind. So I needed something that was robust enough to get us some good data around how a website is ranking and how traffic is coming to a website. But I needed something that wasn't so detailed or kind of like nerdy that people would get lost in the weeds. Because I found myself getting lost in trying to learn tools like SEMrush and Moz and some of these bigger ones that are like super expensive. So I started using Ubersuggest to kind of play around with that, and then it found it really great to teach to our students. And really, at the core of what it is it allows you to set up an SEO dashboard for your website. And I'm one who's very like a firm believer on when it comes to your marketing, and especially when you're trying to get traffic to your website, it's really good to look at data because the data can really help you understand, okay, I've maybe spent some marketing dollars on maybe getting some blog posts written, or I've spent a lot of time writing blog posts. So you want to understand, is that actually moving the needle as far as getting traffic to the website, or people are staying on the website longer, stuff like that. Um, and so it's really important to have a place that you can go to see some of that data. And each person, I think, is going to be a little different when it comes to analytics. Some people are like, just give me like the top level, like just the top numbers. How many people are coming to my website each month? And that's fine. And then other people are going to be like, no, I want to know like what's the conversion rate on this specific page, and how are people going from my homepage to this page, that sort of thing, And so I think that, having just at least one place where you kind of understand a little bit, especially that top level, is great. And I think that just having that is going to put you light years ahead of many people. Cause I talk to a lot of people and I'm like, do you know where traffic is coming from to get to your website? And mostly therapists in private practice, or do you know what keywords you're ranking for? And they're like, no, I have no idea. So it's really important to have this data in front of you. And so Uber Suggest helps you do that. It lets you tie in Google Analytics with your website, and it has all these different features around SEO. So you can see here, I'll try to be descriptive for people who are just listening along. We got the screen share in front of us. I've got this dashboard set up for actually my wife's private practice. I haven't updated this in a while, but it's got a lot of the basic stuff in there for her practice. So right at the top, we can see like they start to give you content ideas. It'll look at your content on your website and it'll give you new ideas for pieces of content that you can create based on the keywords that you're already ranking for. So that's kind of a nice thing to have, because you might be wondering, what can I do to get more SEO traffic to my website? Well, it's going to give you ideas here. So you can take a look at these ideas. They even allow you to like mark them as done, so you can kind of keep track of some of that stuff. I usually do that a little differently in like a spreadsheet, like a Google sheet. But this is a good starting point just to get ideas for content you can create. And when you first come in, you can see it'll tell you just kind of the trend of traffic over the last few months, and you can filter that. And what's really cool is we've got keyword rankings. And so there's this whole section in here where we can look at rank tracking. And so it's going to show you each month, what's your average position and how has that changed each month? Meaning, what's the average position that all your keywords are ranking for?
So Daniel,
Yeah.
For keyword ranking, for those of us, you might be new to SEO. Why is that important?
So keyword ranking is important because it helps you know where you stand in the results. So if you're really wanting to get more couples therapy clients, let's say it's like couples therapy in Atlanta, that might be a keyword that would be really important for you. You want to keep track. Number one, is my website ranking for that keyword? And then how is that changing each month? Because again, back to what I said about data, if you decide, okay, I really want to rank for that keyword, and you publish a landing page on your website for couples therapy in Atlanta, you do a ton of work, you want to see how that needle is moving as far as where those results are ranking. So
I see a line graph that says average position.
Yeah.
Right. And that like it'll tell you over time
Yep.
where your keyword shows up when somebody searches for couples therapy in Atlanta.
Well, in this specific case right now, that average position is really cumulative of all the keywords that we're tracking for.
Okay.
So it allows you to go in and you can edit your keyword list. So
down below, there's a list of words that you're ranking for and their position, where they show up on the page 1, 2, 3, and for Google.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then next to each keyword, we can see if it's changed over the last, whatever we're filtering for. Let's say it's 1 month, it'll show, okay, this one dropped down one position over the last month. Couples therapy dating is this specific keyword here that I'm looking at. And so it just lets us know how things are changing, how things are moving each month. And, there's kind of times where we spend more time doing work on my wife's website, or, for your example, like on your own website. And so you want to be able to go in and see, okay, has it changed? Has that keyword that my website's ranking for, has it moved up? Has it moved down? And that is kind of like step one to understanding, like, how is your website, performing in
This
search engine results.
so one of your main points for a tool for SEO was good data.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have good data to do anything. If you have no numbers, you can't track whether what you're doing is good or bad.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
this a is this part of the like this is pretty impressive. And if you happen to go to the YouTube channel with this show, you can see what he's talking about. Is this a paid feature?
So they have it's sort of like a freemium thing where
Uh-huh.
if you don't opt in for the paid version, I believe it's only like, they only show you maybe 20 keyword results. If you go in and you want to see what a page on your website is ranking for, you can go to like keyword overview and you can actually just put in a specific URL, which is kind of cool because it'll let you know exactly what it's ranking for. And so it might show only like 10 to 15 keywords in the free version. But it's another reason why I decided to really kind of focus on this tool for our SEO students, is because it's only $29 a month if you pay monthly. And I don't think you don't really see this a lot. They also have a lifetime deal that's $290. So if you use it for 10 months, you'll have it for, a lifetime. So that's kind of what I've done. And I think it's totally worth it. Because you can just
Hmm.
continue to use it. You don't have to pay a monthly fee. You just pay that one time deal. But you can use the free version. I think they'll give you like all features free for a week, and then it'll have a little bit of limitations on there.
Cool. What else did you want to tell us about this tool that you use? Like, what do
Yeah.
you use with this?
Yeah. So one of the other key things that we do is keyword research. And they've got a whole section in here that has different tools for keyword research. And keyword research is super important because, you might have ideas for pages you want to put on your website or blog posts you want to write. But, if you're wanting to get traffic from Google to those pages, you got to understand what are the best keywords to use for that piece of content. So we can come to this tool and, in the search box, we can let's just go back to our couples therapy in Atlanta example, and you can choose a location, down to a specific city. If you
Really?
wanted to, if
Wow.
you're really focused on a geographic region, I found, if you're focused on multiple states, you can just leave the location as United States, and that's still going to give you a good pulse as far as, what's a good keyword. And so we can just hit search here. And so it's going to give us some data here. And so search volume is what it's going to show us. And that's kind of the first number that we kind of lock into, which means, how many searches each month are people, typing in couples therapy in Atlanta. And so for this case, it says 720. The next thing we look at is SEO difficulty, which is how difficult would it be to rank for this keyword based on how many other people are trying to rank for that keyword.
So that says 37. Is that high, low? I don't know what that
That's
means.
Yeah, it's based on a scale from 1 to 100. So 37 is actually pretty good. So when you get up into those like 60s, 70s, that shows a lot of competition for that keyword. So I'd say that this is a really good keyword to focus on. And another thing that you can kind of take this to the next step is it's going to show you a couple other variations,
Oh,
or
it just gives you ideas.
yeah, it'll give you ideas. And so we
Yeah.
can click on this button here that says view all keyword ideas. And then it's going to take us to this whole other section called keyword ideas. And then so you can start to see some other variations. So let's see, couples therapy in Atlanta, GA gets 50 searches each month. So much less than 720. So you can kind of come through and just get different ideas for keywords so that you can kind of export this as like a nice list. And then you start to compare and you say, okay, 720 people are searching each month for couples therapy in Atlanta, versus, actually, let's take a step back here. Let's do couples counseling in Atlanta. If I could spell in Atlanta.
nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's like, and if they did, they're all nice people and they
Yeah,
won't bring it up.
exactly. So we can do a search for couples counseling in Atlanta. And now we've got kind of side by side, like, should I use therapy? Should I use counseling? Well, it's showing that 590 people are searching for couples counseling in Atlanta each month versus 720 for couples therapy in Atlanta. But
This
you could see
this is
that
really helpful though, because you can see it. Like,
yeah,
you could, with this tool, you can see it. Now,
yeah,
having you explain what I'm seeing is also very helpful,
right, right. Yeah,
because I've seen the volume thing before, and I might have done a webinar or something on it before and heard somebody, but it's sort of like, if you're not using it every day, it's sort of like in your mind, out your mind,
yeah, yeah.
and it's hard to know what is important. So that's really useful.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of goes back to what I said about like kind of why I landed on Uber Suggest was that it's you can see from the interface here, it's very clean. There's plenty that you could probably dig into if you wanted to get lost in it, but you could also stay pretty high level to get, just a pulse on what's going on because so many times people get so bogged down with the data stuff. And it makes sense. I do too. When you got all this stuff coming at you, like, what do I do with it?
Hmm.
But yeah, I want to make sure that people get a little bit of a, familiarity and education on this stuff so that they make those improvements on their websites and they have some tools that they can use, just so they don't end up just doing nothing just because it's overwhelming. But, it takes a little bit of time and just a little poking around and it's good to be curious and, and just be, playing with these tools. Cause they can
This
really give you lots of ideas for content you can create or pages that may be missing from your website, based on your services or blog posts you want to write. There's tons of stuff in here. Like we could even search, there's a tab for questions. So you can see what questions are people asking, like, is couples therapy covered by insurance?
Oh,
Um,
1,000 people asked that.
yeah. How much is couples therapy per hour? So you can kind of include those in like your FAQs. And those are questions that people are
Mm,
actually,
because
asking.
if they're typing it in the search bar and you have it on your page, it will show up
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's step
So,
one. Step one is you just have to have the content there. It might not
you got to have the
necessarily
content.
show up right
This
away, but you got to start somewhere.
this was very informative. I know we only have a few minutes left with you. I'm wondering if the panel has any questions or something they noticed
Yeah.
from the Uber Suggest for Daniel as he spends maybe another minute or two with us.
Daniel, is this something that you would recommend a group practice owner putting money into and doing, or do you recommend like hiring a business such as your business to do it for you? Can you talk a second about that?
Yeah, that to me that totally depends on the person, and how involved they want to be, how much they enjoy this stuff. But like we talked about, the data stuff is a little can be overwhelming. Um, I like to have people know enough to be dangerous so that they can kind of understand what's going on. And then you can kind of make that decision like, okay, this isn't really the most fun for me, or this isn't maybe the best use of my time. So let me hand this off to somebody, whether that's an admin in your practice or hiring out for somebody else because if you hire somebody like private practice elevation, we're going to do all the keyword research for you, like, and we're going to come to you with an already culled down list of these are the best keywords to use, this is what people are using. You maybe are missing content on your website that doesn't really represent all these keywords that we found, so like we're going to do that work for you and then go in and optimize the website for you. But when it comes to kind of understanding the data, I think it's good to have at least a base knowledge of, what this stuff is so that you can, outsource it and understand if somebody's, doing a great job for you.
And is this a good tool? Do they have like an easy learning to get into it? Would it be an easy thing to learn as you're putting all your stuff in?
Yeah, I think they have lots of like tutorials that
Okay.
their support is really good and they're usually have like just like everything that I've seen from Neil Patel is usually like geared towards teaching, and so
Okay.
that's kind of like at the heart of what they do. So I haven't fully explored all of like the tutorials and things on there. I'm just kind of got my hands dirty.
Thanks.
And I know I've subscribed to his newsletter, and they pound you with good information.
It's a lot of information. Yeah.
They're like, these are the 3 things you should be doing right now, or I mean,
Yeah.
they're really good.
Yeah.
I
He writes very detailed tutorials, so if you're like trying to figure out some aspect of SEO or website traffic, you might find a blog post that's maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10,000 words because it's got chapters and it breaks it down and like you can walk through it. So it's helpful stuff, but it can sometimes be very overwhelming just because the detail they put into it.
Can I also ask you with the Uber suggests, one of the things that I found with anything that I use for SEO is that I get lost very easily, as you said, and it can be easily a tool where you get lost completely. Have you ever contacted customer support, and how supportive were they?
I haven't contacted their support because I've kind of really used Uber Suggest mostly for like keyword ideas and just kind of tracking that month to month stuff. I haven't really run into too many issues myself that I needed support. So yeah, I wish I could speak to that.
Well, that's still good news.
Yeah, I just haven't. Yeah, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I haven't really run into too many issues. Because it's been a pretty straightforward. Once I plugged in Google Analytics, so I kind of get a sense of the tracking. The traffic. And another feature which we actually didn't talk about is the site audit. So it can actually crawl through your website and find some of those SEO errors. Maybe like duplicate content or pages without a meta description, and so that can also help you just have a checklist of things that you can improve on your website. That's another
it
cool
gives you a
feature.
to-do list.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. So if
We
you
need the hand-holding there.
Yeah. So if you are excited to learn and you want to, just do it yourself, you can kind of use this tool to kind of give you just lots of ideas that you can, focus on. I do kind of preach though, having like a good sense of like, what's your starting point? Where are you at now? Where do you want to go? SEO can be, a pretty, detailed whole of topics and things to kind of get into, but I think that, you can get some really great ideas from this tool.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Daniel. Can you tell us where we can find you and maybe some of the opportunities people can have to either use your services or get some support from you and your team?
Yeah, sure. So if you go to privatepracticeelevation.com, that's where you can find what we do. And basically our 3 services, our website design and development, SEO services, and then WordPress care plans. So you can go over there. If you click on the get started button right in the top corner, you can just book a 15-minute call with myself and find out what you're looking to achieve in your business and see if we can put together a plan. And yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. Your webinar, as I said, was very helpful. How often do you run those? Are those like monthly, quarterly?
So that was the first webinar I've done in a while, actually. And
Really?
so I was
You were so polished.
Thank you.
Like, I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah. So we do have, that is actually another, service that we have is our SEO Basecamp live training group, which is basically where I teach our process that we use for our own clients. So for people who are maybe just starting out or they're excited to learn about SEO themselves, that's a great opportunity. So we do launch that group twice a year is what we've been doing it.
Okay.
And so we just did the launch here in September. So we do have a waiting list for that when it's not open, so people can get on that. And you'll find that in our list of services on the website as well.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for taking the time to spend with us, and we'll hopefully have you back on sometime later.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's great hanging out with everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. So thanks, Daniel, for sharing that tool with us. That was Uber Suggest, and I'll have that in the show notes. I'll also have the YouTube link where you can watch some of what he showed us on his screen, and just the graphs and the line graphs. Any comments on that from the panel? Any comments about what Daniel shared? Was it easier than what you used? Is it harder?
I actually thought it looked great. It made me think I should hire train one of my administrative assistants to do it. I won't do it, but I want all that info. It seemed awesome.
Well, I can tell you from a perspective of someone who has very limited knowledge of SEO, that actually encouraged me to do SEO. Um,
Mm,
most of my knowledge has come from someone who helped create my website. So when they talk about SEO, I know what it means. I just didn't know how to put it in practice. And that
mm.
tool was definitely something that we can put in practice on a regular basis and very reachable. So I really appreciate it.
Y- yeah, I know quite a bit about SEO. Doesn't mean that I actually implement what I know because
'Cause you're a personal development
right, I'm
junkie and
I'm
you've
too busy
probably,
developing myself.
been to all the
Yes,
webinars.
so I'm too busy developing myself, but I would hire somebody honestly to do it for me because it seems like one of those things that it's important, and if I wanna get found on Google, which, I mean, let's face it, we all would love that traffic, right? How many more posts on social media do you wanna be making to get the same small percentage of people who see you on their feeds actually take action versus people who are typing in, like Daniel was saying, exactly what they're looking
Mhm,
for, and then if you have it correct, if your SEO is ranking at all, you could be found. So it's a reminder to me that it really is important, and it's probably one of the most important things we can be doing for our businesses. So, but if you're like me and you makes your brain explode to try to figure out how to find the time to do all that, then it might be worth it to outsource it. And I know Daniel does great work. He's helped some friends of mine with their websites, and I just know that he does great work.
yeah, what was really helpful for me, I think, was just how do you even do keyword research? I can type in questions in Google, but when he typed it into that Uber suggest, it had the words plus how many people search for it, how hard is it to rank up, other suggestions for it. Like, it was really, I thought it was really helpful for getting that data. Um, and I've typed in my website site and had it crawl it, and I some of the words I thought I might be ranking for, I'm not in the top 10. You know, maybe not even the top 20. I'm like, oh, I blog about this. What should I do? So having that to do list and all those things was, I thought that was pretty cool, and I liked that it wasn't complicated. Because you can get into the weeds. Like, I go into the Google Analytics page and I see graphs and stuff, and I just don't know what to do with it. Like, um, all right. So, and a good return on investment, I think, was the other good part. Like, it's not super expensive. If you do get the lifetime deal and you know you're gonna be using it for more than 10 months, then you're gonna, save yourself money. Well, let's get into the topic then of SEO. When we're marketing our therapy practice or our webpage, SEO, search engine optimization, is an important part of that. And we're gonna just go around the table. There's no table, but go around the room. There's no room either. We're gonna go around. We're gonna talk about what is going on with what we're doing for our SEO, and maybe get some different stories and perspective about what's going on. So the first question for our topic on marketing and SEO is, what mistakes have you made with SEO in the past, and what lessons have you learned? What mistakes have you made?
Well, obviously, I'm going to start off by saying not using it. That would be a big mistake. I think that I want to echo a little bit of what Lisa has said, is that you can make so many social media posts and get so much, but with a good SEO, you're going to be able to get something that will pay off in the long term and much quicker. I think that what Uber suggests, I think that I look at it, and I looked at Google Analytics myself. I even looked at another tool that I shall not name, and I was like, WTF, how am I going to figure out this stuff? And so for me, like, SEO has been such a daunting and very scary thing that every time I've looked at it, I went, yeah, well, oh, look, I think I can hear my kids need a diaper change, except they're 13 and 15. But anyway, I'm going to go, I'm just going to walk away from this. So from my perspective, the mistake is not paying attention to it, number one. And number two, trying to
Mm,
find someone who's selling me sometimes what I would call snake oil. and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'll give you your answer." And, no, they don't give you an answer. They give you something that they regurgitate to every single person. And so, that would be the mistakes I've made.
I would say for me, well, the first mistake I made, well, I didn't know it was a mistake at the time. I did my own website.
Mm,
I spent months putting effort into it. This was what, 8.5 years ago when I started my group practice, and did my own website, and then found out like within a year later I need this SEO thing and had to pay someone to redo it all anyway. And so I feel like hiring a professional is really helpful to get started. And the second mistake I made was not keeping up on my blogs, because blogs are a
mhm.
huge way to drive traffic where Google can say, oh, they are experts in anxiety counseling or EMDR, and not matching my blogs up with my service pages. So I would say that was my second mistake.
Yeah, and I'm just going to piggyback on what Steve and Don have already said is just not really thinking too much about it in the beginning. And I had my website go down about a year and a half ago. I had my website crash, just got some type of malware on it, and everything came crashing down, and we had to rebuild it completely. And that's something that unfortunately I haven't recently, I just haven't been paying attention to SEO since the website came crashing down, because just trying to build it up and, do the podcast and create the courses and be a mom and be a wife. It's like one more thing to add on, but it is something that is always in the back of my head. Like, I've got to get a handle on my SEO, because when I do a search for myself in Google, I am surprised at what comes up. But I don't know if someone is typing in, podcasts about therapy, am I popping up? So it's something I know I need to focus on, and it's just a one more thing that's, unfortunately that I have,
Uh,
I just need to
yeah.
prioritize it, really.
So I want to hear from the group. Like, how do you find time for that one more thing? Like, what advice would you give for the group therapist or the solo therapist who is wearing all the hats, and maybe they're technical, maybe they're not? Like, what would you say to that person?
Well, I will just say it depends on what that thing is and what your next goal is. If, I think everybody has to look at their business and figure out what they're trying to achieve, and then from there, what is the best way to go about doing that. And if it comes down to getting more clients for your group practice, then yes, you probably want to be looking at SEO as one of your marketing um, arms that you need to be focusing on. I mean, there's other things too as well, but I think it really just depends on, like, what is it on what are you trying to accomplish, and what is the best way to get there. It's not always posting on social media, I will tell you all that. And I think everybody
Mm,
wants to turn to social media and say that's what it is, but it's really not. We could probably do a whole episode on marketing, just in general.
yeah, it's one of the things coming down
Yeah,
the line, marketing and social
right.
media. Um, somebody, what do you what else? What does the rest of the group
Well, the one thing I would mention is that because Daniel, all right, let's try again. One of the things I want to mention is Daniel is an expert on that, and he does it through his own practice. And one of the things I've learned is that, for the podcast, I enjoy doing podcasting. I absolutely do not want to learn how to edit. So I just send it
Mm,
out. Someone else does it. It's someone that me and Lisa had recommended. And so maybe if the SEO, like I'm going to try to learn about it a little more because I've tried a few times. But ultimately, the other thing too is if you can afford it, sometimes it's better to just outsource this because this will be something that they can do. And, me learning a new tool of XYZ when I'm trying to sell a book with KDP, or I'm using my email list from CRM, and then now I'm going to add this. To me, that's too much on my list. So to add to my list, I would go contact someone who's an expert on that. And then sometimes when you start off, it's not as financially viable, but when you've been doing it for a couple of years, probably financially viable to use someone like Daniel, and just go from
mhm.
there. So apparently I pronounce French names too. So now you know that too.
This has nothing to do with SEO, but the other day I chopped a bush down outside my house, and I was filling up garbage bags with prick. It had prickers on it, and so I was filling up garbage bags with prickers, and I filled it to the top because I only wanted to use a couple garbage bags, and it was kind of like spilling out, but I had to take my gloves off to try to tie the bag. So I'm like scratching myself and I'm like, this is dumb. And I just took a handful out, threw it on the ground, was able to squish it down and tie it up. And it made me think about how in life I do the same thing. I try to jam as much in as possible. And then because then I can't do it all and I get frustrated. And if I just took a handful out, I could get the result. And I think, wearing all the hats and doing all the things is similar to that story.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think for me, I this is what I would recommend. Find a webinar that you can take where you can just learn enough about SEO so you know what you're talking about, but then hire someone. Like I've always paid one therapist who wants some extra admin hours and I pay them admin hours. I've have my intern doing it where I get them trained on
Mm.
SEO just enough to keep up with it. And then I have them get the free newsletters and to take an extra course on SEO. And so it's really affordable if you can train somebody on your team, if you're a group practice owner or an administrative assistant to help. That's how I've done it. But I know enough to at least talk about SEO.
Yeah, and that brings me to the second question, which you kind of answered. What are you doing now to help with SEO? What are some of the uh, practices or procedures or initiatives that you're doing uh, that that are working, or maybe you've done in the past? Does somebody want to comment on that?
Yeah, I can go. Again, I have hired a a team to help out, like, where they redid my whole website and went through and picked, like, 5 service pages, the home page, the about page, and they did an overhaul for, like, 3 months, we worked on it. And then so that was the first step, and I usually tell when I'm consulting my, clients who are building practices, I say, "You need to save some money to hire someone for SEO." Like,
Mm.
this right after a good website, that's your second thing, and it's gonna change your marketing. So I absolutely believe in it. And then the second thing I do is keep up with blogs, but I also and the blogs will and you want to interlink it with your service page, and then you want to put a post on social media that links back to your blog, that links back to your service page. So you can reuse the info, but you want it all linked together. So it just keeps boosting your SEO and makes sense.
Thing what I did is I had someone kinda, like, do it for me also, and they're the ones who worked for 3 months on my website, and my SEO was pretty good. The one thing that I didn't count on, and maybe it was my naivete or whatever, is that you gotta check that stuff regularly. And one of the things is, obviously looking at this tool, maybe finding someone who can do it for me. But ultimately, I think it's a little bit of those things that I've done, but I'm looking forward to doing things differently. Because one of the things I've learned about owning a business and marketing is that if you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's called insanity. So I try to change it up as much as I can.
Yeah, so just actually doing it is important for me at this point. Just and I'm trying to remember why we haven't done it yet. I think my web developer was really wanted to keep my website on lockdown because of the malware that I'd had, and so we've just been really careful about security and what he lets on as like plugins and stuff. So, but it definitely needs to happen. So hold me to it, y'all. I'm gonna get on it.
We will. Uh, uh, I think what I was doing for SEO, which after going through the reports on Uber Suggest isn't working, but I'll just tell you, is I had blog posts and I have podcasts, but I don't think I did enough keyword research to make sure I was ranked because the words I'm ranking for is close to what I want, but if I am marketing to therapists, like counselors, people in the helping field, and I don't have any words in the top 10 with that's like therapist. So it tells me I am not using it right or in the right way in the right combination with my content that I would come up on page 1. So I had a strategy, but it was more of a strategy of, I think this is what I should be doing, not, and then putting work and effort into. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I am doing things. I am blogging, but I often find on my to-do calendar, if something's going to drop off, it's probably going to be
Right.
the blogs, because there's no immediate pain, right? There's no immediate pain if I'm like, oh, I can blog next week instead of this week, and then I'll blog the next week instead of the week after. It doesn't show up. SEO is something that it takes time to build, and if you don't do it, if you don't see the immediate results, one blog post is not going to rocket you to the top. It's just the consistent posting that will help. All right. Well, this is probably a good time to move to our last segment. What's one takeaway before you leave, Steve? What's one takeaway you want the audience to take from this episode?
When something is scaring you in your private practice, you probably should confront it fully and do it. SEO was a very scary thing for me. Now getting that information about Uber Suggest, or hearing from you guys and how you've been using it or lack thereof, Lisa, and I will keep you accountable. I'll break that personal development thing. But anyway, at the end of the day, I think that that's one of the things that I would say is that I was very intimidated by SEO, and I will now know that avoiding it is not going to solve my problem. So.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. How about Lisa? Do you have a takeaway for
I'm going to put
the show?
Steve on mute on my phone. So when he starts texting me and harassing me about SEO, I will not see it. No, I
Love you too, Lisa.
No, really, it is. I'm so glad that we're all talking about this, because, like you said, I have been avoiding it. It's just another conversation I got to have with my and I love my web development guy. So hey, Mike, if you're listening, we're gonna talk about it and gonna get on it, because it is important. And I don't know why I'm not doing it, except I'm so busy watching personal development videos and reading books. But no, no, really, that's not it. It's just avoidance, and I know I need to get to it. So thanks for pushing.
All right. And Dawn, your takeaway?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of companies out there, but find one that specializes in therapy and for therapists. I know Daniel's one is great. There's another one that's really good too. And I would say they offer like free newsletters, free courses. Like take at least one of those just to get your feet wet, and then schedule time. Like block your day, schedule 2 hours, and get it done.
Great. And my takeaway is just start. Like, you got to know you're not going to go any further just ignoring it. So just start. Know what you're trying to do, and then hand it off. Like if you run out of time, know where you want to go. Know enough that when somebody hands you the report, you know what's good and what's bad.
Mhm.
But you don't have to be the person to create the report or do all the work. Hand it off to an expert who enjoys it and will get you great results.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this episode 1 of season 2. Thanks for joining the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is the show where we ask you to take intentional steps towards sustainable growth. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Scaling Therapy Practice. I hope you enjoyed the show. I want to remind you that the content shared today is for general information and entertainment purposes only. It shouldn't be considered as legal or tax advice. If you need a professional advice in those areas, please consult with a licensed attorney or accountant. But thank you so much for listening. The Scaling Therapy Practice is part of the SciCraft Network.